the rock, snap the back, front to back, in this thing called rap. Feel like a double rhyme double on a heavenly level. Bang the bass, turn up the treble. Radical mind, day and night all the time. 714, wise, divine, maniac, radiac, winning the game. I'm the lyrical Jesse James.
The power today. All right, well, welcome. Please introduce yourself in the chat if you haven't already. Let us know where you are joining from. Feel free to ask questions for our frequently asked questions sheet and join us in our community circles. And please take action in our survey at the end of this session. Welcome to the second installment of our Data for Action Summit series. My name is Michaela Trujillo. I am a certified community health worker and certified peer support worker, a person with lived experience, and a returning citizen. I am the capacity building coordinator, and I am beyond grateful to support 12 incredible CHW leaders and experts from across the United States, serving in diverse roles, sectors, genders, cultural care, titles, geography, and specialties of community health. I am also proudly joined by my NACHW teammates, Angie Kuzma, Allison Jocelyn, Aurora Grant Wingate, and many more. And I want to give a special round of applause to all of you here with us today. This is my silent clap. We understand that your time on this webinar is precious, and we will be providing a certificate of attendance that NACHW respectfully requests to be honored as continuing education credits that can be used towards certification in your state per their requirements for everyone on the call today. As we move through this presentation, please don't hesitate to drop your questions in the chat. We love and encourage audience engagement. And again, we will be using this to collect a frequently asked question sheet to go along with our full national report coming soon. We are excited to share it with you all and invite you to spread the full report far and wide just as soon as it becomes available on our NACHW website. In today's session, we will be unpacking our second set of data, which includes diversity of CHWs, achieving pay equity, CHW work environment, perception of CHWs in care teams, community health worker self-care and support, and our favorite community circles. This is a 4-part series, so please make sure to mark your calendars for October 13th and our grand finale of October 27th. Same time, same Zoom link. At the end of each session, we will gather in our smaller community circle breakout session. These rooms are a safe space where your voice is encouraged and uplifted. In the rooms, you will be joined by our awesome leaders and staff to explore through a Jamboard how this data can work for you in your community, and through dignity and respect, empowerment, social justice, equity, unity, integrity, and self-determination. Small disclosure, this online seminar is being recorded for future educational purposes. Join me in a short history lesson on the National Association of Community Health Workers. We are a young organization with 3 years in operation. NACHW has a strong and diverse individuals that sit on the board of directors whose primary job it is to put shareholders' needs before their own and uphold the integrity and values of the organization. In addition to that, NACHW has 10 incredible staff members across geography who are committed to the growth and evolution that lead our day-to-day operations. NACHW prides itself on strategically developing and advancing the CHW profession. We are a values-based organization, meaning we bring our morals to the forefront of everything that we do. These include being a national voice for CHWs under all umbrella terms, enhancing policy, advancing the workforce, and driving CHW leadership while building capacity. We proudly hold membership representation in all 50 states with over 2,000 members in total. I welcome you to the Advance CHW project, which is proudly funded by Johnson & Johnson and whose mission it is to combat racial inequities and health disparities for people of color. Over the last 2 years of this program, Johnson & Johnson leaders have worked tirelessly to develop a national survey that explores and builds recognition of the CHW professional identity. Community health workers' integration within medical, public health, and social service initiatives is essential to eradicate social and racial injustice and health inequities experienced by minorities. This data should be used for action to reverse harmful practices and barriers to the CHW determination, leadership, advancement, and sustainability. Before we start our journey into data learning, I would like to pass the mic over to Allison to share the survey history and methodology used in analyzing this data. Allison?
Thanks, Michaela. We share this next slide to highlight key learnings from exploring the data, as well as how we processed and cleaned this information to ensure data quality. In many of the questions, we ask for CHWs to reflect on experiences during the year amidst the COVID-19 pandemic and civil unrest. This enormous undertaking in building a state-of-the-art 51 question survey by CHWs for CHWs during this unprecedented time was organized by NACHW with CHW leaders and other stakeholders at the helm. On the left side of the screen, the data team identified missing responses, explored the meanings of neutral responses, removed duplication of entries, and notated any unique characteristics during the data cleaning process. For example, as we'll see later, one of the unique characteristics to account for is that 28% of CHW respondents were from North Carolina because of a single employer distributed the survey across the teams. We'll also share information regarding the neutral responses. We also disaggregated all 51 questions by race and ethnicity and disaggregated the CHW data by national regions. So what does disaggregating data mean? Disaggregating data means breaking information into smaller pieces to showcase trends and patterns that may not be visible when describing only the whole group or population. And why would we want to disaggregate the data? We want to disaggregate this information of CHWs because it is critical to be able to monitor and describe critical racial disparities and health inequities by location across where we live, work, play, pray, get educated, and get our healthcare. This allows for further examination from a baseline of data to identify root causes of inequities, dismantle structural racism, and further prioritize CHW values in our actions. Where we see observable and unique differences, as well as where we are united in responses, we report these within this presentation and also in the upcoming release of the report. On the right side of the screen, we want to express that 867 CHWs from 859 different zip codes responded to the survey between the months of June and September 2021. 772 CHWs responded in English version, and 95 CHWs responded in the Spanish version, with 27 different languages spoken. We know that CHW is an umbrella term, and therefore we found that 93 different titles were also represented among respondents, further solidifying the strength and power of this data. We'll explore this as well later. Thank you again for reviewing the methodology. I'll hand the mic back to Michaela for her introduction of our profound CHW leaders.
Thank you, Allison. That's such great insight and background. Now it is my honor to introduce your amazing facilitators for today. Miss Andrea Kratzer, who is a veteran CHW trainer at Everyday Life CHW, joining us from Michigan. Miss Maria Ortiz, Executive Director of Familias Triunaforas in El Paso, Texas. Miss Nikki St. Germain, a CHW and supervisor specializing in maternal child health in New Jersey. And Miss Danina Battle, a CHW chronic care specialist joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. And before I turn the mic over to Nikki, I just want to give a shout out to Miss Edna Hutchison. She was my CHW instructor, and she has played a monumental role in educating me on the CHW role. And I'm so proud to have her in this virtual community today. So take it away, Nikki.
Thanks, Michaela, and welcome everyone. Greetings from New Jersey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So what we're doing today is taking you along a journey, and we really want to take a look at the community health work. We hope that you listen to the expressions of CHWs just like you and me. So take a moment, envision the faces of this data, beginning with the diversity and of the community health workers by geography, ethnicity, race, and culture. So together, what we're going to do is we're going to be learning who responded to the survey, where they came from, and then we'll walk through some of the social features of the CHW workforce. All right, so let's get into some of this data. So you can look on your screen and see this slide, and I want you to follow with me to the map on the left. So here we can see that the states that are highlighted with a darker shade of purple, that means that there's a higher number of CHW representations. And then when you see the lighter shades of purple, that means there's a smaller percentage of CHW representatives who completed the survey. All right, so just to go over that one more time, if you see the darker shades of purple, that means there's a higher number of CHW representation. And then if you see the lighter purple, that means there's a smaller percentage of CHW representation. So now, taking a look at this map and considering the higher and smaller percentages, we would like to hear from you. So here's your chance to chime in. We want you to activate the chat box if you have access to it. And then we want you to share with us what state you're from. After you share what state you're from, we do want you to see if the map shows a lighter or darker shade of purple. All right, so you guys can engage in the chat box right now. As those are coming in, and as you're writing your responses, we want you to take a look to the right side in the colorful globe. So that shows us a percentage of CHWs completing the survey in each region of the United States. So we see that each region of the United States has an even distribution of CHW survey respondents. And there were 3 times more survey takers from North Carolina, which we talked about a little bit earlier on. And that increases the percentage in the South Atlantic region. All right, so we're looking forward to hearing from you all, and keep those responses coming in the chat box. So next, we can picture how extremely diverse our workforce is, right? So we had 7 primary racial identities with over 28% of multiracial participants and 37.7% were of Hispanic or Latino origin. So we gave survey respondents the opportunity to also take some time and write in and self-identify different types of race, ethnicity, and culture. And there were 11% of CHWs who reported multiracial identities. So this is just giving us a closer look at some of the diversity across the data that came in and what our CHW workforce looks like. So you can take a second to just process this data. All right, so let's move a little further along. So we can further see the faces of our workforce in the graphics on the left of this slide here. So we can see here that our workforce is a heavily driven female workforce. And this data actually shows us that 88.6% of our workforce is female, and then 11% is male. So some of you may have heard of the term manpower. By the looks of the data that came in from our survey, it's looking like the workforce is women's power. All right. So that's some good data to take a look at. So we can listen and hear our voices through the icon to the right if you look there. And that kind of shows us the diversity of languages that we provide different services in. So some of the languages we captured were Spanish, Haitian Creole, and then even more other native dialects and languages. So again, this just gives us a picture of the diversity of our workforce. And this is just some data that you can chew on. So we'll go a little further and take a look at the ages of our workforce. So with an equal majority appearing in all age categories, we can see this type of data. But there's also a slightly high percentage in the range of 45 to 54 years of age. And that's also followed closely by 55 to 64-year-olds as well. And then also what we can do is we can understand the education levels that we've completed as a workforce by looking at the graduation cap to the right of this slide here. So this shows us that most of us have some college or a 2-year degree. All right. So we'll turn our attention over to our member and partner engagement associate, Miss Aurora. Hey, Aurora. And she's going to challenge us in opportunities for action.
Thank you so much, Nikki. So first, when we're looking at this data, we want to encourage folks to recruit and hire authentic CHWs who are trusted and have shared life experience, culture, and language with the communities they serve. And we want to make sure that we are moving towards removing barriers to recruitment, training, certification, and employment, like educational requirements, criminal background checks, and English proficiency requirements. And we want to be prioritizing racial health equity, inclusion, diversity, and a trauma-informed approach. And we want to increase recruitment for CHWs who identify as male and those of non-conforming genders. And we want to permanently fund CHWs' roles, including addressing the social determinants of health, policy, advocacy, and research payers and funders who should recognize CHWs as assets through sustainable funding. We want to integrate and compensate CHWs' language proficiency and life skills into all direct service. And we want to invest in CHWs' career advancement pathways, like certification and continuing education, tuition reimbursement, pay raises for educational attainment, and scholarships. And if there are other opportunities for action that we're missing here, please feel free to throw them in the chat. We want to make sure this is a power building session. And now I'm going to pass it on to Andrea to continue us on our journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aurora. And yes, I agree. If there are any other missing pieces, please share with NACHW. They are our leaders and our biggest supporters and biggest fans of CHWs. And as you see here, and as we continue on with today's information, you're going to see a lot of different areas where we still need to have some work being done. And NACHW is the place to get it done. So with that being said, we are going to talk about and move through our journey of community health work as we talk about the achieving pay equity for CHWs. In 2021, we were asked what employment was like for us. I want you to really pay attention to the slide and the information that you see here. And and think silently for a moment of how it really resonates with you as a CHW within your role and equitable pay. So in the calendar, you can see that most of us have full-time CHW employment. However, alarmingly, we are learning that nearly 1/5 or as high as 17% of us are employed part-time. We either volunteer and per diem, we get paid per diem or through gift cards and honorariums. In our bar chart to the right, I want you to specifically pay attention to the 54% of Pacific Islanders who were employed full-time in comparison to 89% of its white counterparts and 84% of the Black or African American CHWs. This is a noticeable disparity. Employment is sustained through different avenues and different sectors, including short-term grants that make the longevity of a career and CHW burnout and mental health. Next, we're going to take a look at when we were asked, again, here is your map. So again, paying attention to the darker colors versus the lighter colors. Please pay attention to your state specifically and compare it to the rest of the map if you would. When we were asked if we believe in that we paid, or that if we believe pay is an equitable wage, 46% of us agree, but 28% of us disagree or strongly disagree. The map here shows us the states that provide a higher wage for CHWs in the darker purple and a lower wage in the lighter shades of purple. So during this time, what we would like you to do is put in the chat whether you agree or disagree about the pay and equitable wage. Tell us why or why not, because this is really helpful information that we're continuing to still gather. So as we do our advocacy and ally workshop, we can help advocate for all of those things. So moving on, let's now think about our overtime hours. On the image of the clock, we notice that 41% of us are not compensated for additional hours worked. The bar chart to the right shows more CHWs of color do not receive additional pay for working overtime as compared to CHWs who are white. We know that at times our work overflows outside of regular scheduled hours, and the needs of our clients and patients may also carry over into our personal time. This time spent should be repaid equitably. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Aurora so she can talk about how we're going to get into some action.
Thank you, Andrea. So of course, we want to be compensating CHWs for their years of service, experience, and lived experience. And we want to center CHW expertise and reaching vulnerable and under-resourced communities. And we want to be partnering with CHWs to improve cross-sector care and program teams where community health decisions are made. And we want to allow CHWs to retain their title when they receive promotions, funding announcements, and state and federal policies. And we want to integrate CHW leadership in the design, development, implementation, and monitoring of programs and services. And we want to protect CHW achievements and advancements across sectors through ethical practices. And for folks who are in the chat, thank you so much for blowing it up. We know this is a lot of information, but don't worry, we are going to send you all these graphics in the recording. So anything you miss, you're going to have plenty of time to review. Thank you all, and I am going to pass it on to Danina to talk more about work environment.
Great evening, everyone, or great afternoon. I apologize. I'm so thankful that you all have joined us today. Thanks, Aurora. Let's get on with it and explore our next step in our community health work journey by diving into our experiences in professional environments. Each of the questions we explore in this section reflects the degree to which we, as community health workers, agree. We want to note that in most of the questions, 25% of CHWs reported neutral. We believe that neutral was often selected because in this snapshot, we were asked if non-CHWs where we work viewed us as experts. The good news is that our responses show us that 35% of us agree. However, 16% of us disagree or strongly disagree, and 31% felt neutral. We are exploring that neutral could be based on a few reasons, such as lack of education about CHW background and history of the profession with non-CHWs, or determination or writing of responsibilities about CHWs from clinical or professions that are not authentic CHWs, or possibly uncertainty or fear in responding. When we were asked if we felt that we had the authority to shape our career and role as a CHW, we see the results shown are 61% of us feel they agree or strongly agree. 14 of us either disagree or strongly disagree. And 25% of us felt neutrally about this question. So let's take some time to hear from you guys. Please respond in the chat. Do you feel you have the authority to shape your career as a community health worker where you work? Let us know in the chat. Wow, thank you guys so much for your responses in the chat. You guys are blowing it up. So great. We appreciate your participation. So let's consider this. What about our opportunities for continuing education and career advancement? Well, when we look at this image, 66% of us say we agree. We have opportunities for continuing education and career advancement, while 34% of us, or 15% of the majority, strongly disagree or felt neutral about this question. On the survey, if we felt that we were able to lead discussions that improve CHW work where we are employed, we see that only 50% only 50% agree or strongly agree that yes, we are able to lead in those conversations. Now let's look at this next image carefully, where we're asked if our voice counts in the hiring and role responsibilities in our place of work, where we notice that 46% of us agree or strongly disagree. Sorry. Now let's take a look at this next image carefully, where we are asked if our voice counts in the hiring and role responsibilities in our place of work. We notice that 46% of us agree or strongly agree, and that 33% of us disagree or strongly disagree. CHW voices are important and should be valued when decisions are made in the workplace regarding hiring and our position's responsibility. They are the experts on the values and ethics of including public health concepts and client-centered approach. As we move to the next question about if we felt our role was unique and unduplicated, we received this response. 58% of us agreed or strongly agreed, while 20% of us disagreed or strongly disagree. Our experiences in the workplace is so very critical. Aurora, can you take us into action?
Thank you, Danina.
You're welcome.
Some opportunities for action for this data is to educate non-CHWs in the workplace on the values, roles, and leadership of CHWs as community experts. And we want to integrate CHWs into the care teams in conversations where clinical and community health decisions are made. And teams can engage CHW employees in discussions about a goal setting to ensure their integration, career goals, and organizational advancement. And incorporate CHW leadership in the design, development, implementation, and monitoring of programs and services impacting communities where they live and serve. And invest in the unique role of CHWs and community-based organizations that preserve and promote the fidelity of the CHW profession. And we want to protect CHW's achievement and advancements and enhance research to better understand social, community, and organizational health environments above CHWs. And now I will pass it on to Nikki, who will respond to our questions about perceptions of CHWs and care teams.
Thanks, Aurora. Hi again, everyone. All right, so let's go a little further and we'll discuss perceptions of CHWs and care teams throughout the data. All right, so throughout the United States, we've had many experiences with employers and also with non-CHWs as well. So when we take a look at this data, there's at least 48% of us who disagree or strongly disagree with the statement from our survey. Sometimes it's hard for me to communicate my unique role as a CHW with non-CHWs. I have to say, this was not surprising at all to me. As a CHW, we know what we do and we can communicate it well. There is 34% of us who agree or strongly agree that it's difficult to communicate, and 18% felt neutral. So what these findings could show us is that we may have the ability to communicate the distinctive characteristics of who we are, what we do to others, so that non-CHWs can understand their attributes and qualities as well. So it's good for us to kind of just, again, just take a look at this information that will be shared out, but just digest it in terms of how we can communicate our roles. All right, let's go a little bit further. So we were also asking the survey about our professionalism in delivery teams by non-CHWs. All right, so 54% agree or strongly agree that we are viewed as skilled professionals to other non-CHWs. So that shows that members of care teams respect and trust us as CHWs. All right. So here's a chance for folks to get involved again. I know you all have gone up the chat already, but here's another question where we want to hear from you. So do you all feel that it's hard to communicate your unique role as a CHW? So we want to hear why or why not. Let us know in the chat box. And I love that there's some engagement happening with each other. So let's feel free to keep this conversation going. So I'm going to repeat the question. Do you feel that it's hard to communicate your unique role as a CHW? And then why or why not? All right, while you're doing that, we'll go a little further. So we've reached an important and pivotal moment of journey in our data. Now, in this question on the survey, we're asked, am I valued for my lived experience and community trust by non-CHWs? All right, so are we valued for our lived experience and community trust by non-CHWs? All right. But this data shows us that 2/3 or 66% of us agree and strongly agree that we're appreciated for our real life knowledge and our community understanding. All right. Only 10% disagree or strongly disagree. And then 24% are neutral about this question. So we talked a little bit earlier about the neutral responses and some speculations as to why or why not folks may have selected neutral. All right, but this data could show us that we're recognized and praised for our paths and our paths in life that have really brought us to be wise in our community needs. All right.
Thank you, Nikki. Again, more opportunities for action here are to collectively build organizational justice, equity, diversion, inclusion, and belonging in cultural norms and practice. Again, prioritizing hiring CHWs with lived experience and authentic community trust, and require hiring decisions alongside peer CHWs, supervisors, and service roles. And ensure CHWs are partnering across wraparound care teams and service delivery CHW expertise. And invest in CHWs to lead in program design and implementation across various institutions and protect the role of CHWs and CHW titles. Andrea, can you tell us what was recorded about CHW self-care and support?
Absolutely, Aurora. I'd be happy to. We were asked in the survey what our self-care and support was like. Follow me as we take a deeper look into CHW self-care and support. When asked if we felt we received support for our self-care and mental health where we work, we noticed that 68% of us agree or strongly agree that yes, we do receive some sort of support. We know that that is such an important factor in our roles due to the indirect trauma that we experience through some of the cases that we're working with clients, and the heavy load that we carry as CHWs on a day-to-day basis. So again, please make your voice heard by answering this question that I'm going to ask you and putting your answers in the chat, please. What about you as a CHW? Do you feel that you receive support for your mental health and self-care needs where you work? Why or why not? This is very important because self-care is one of those things that I think a lot of us as CHWs typically omit on a day-to-day basis. And again, we're feeling the stressors of the lack of self-care, and some of us a lack of support, as you see here, according to the graphic on our screen. Now, we asked if we decided, or if we had a dedicated supervisor rather, who provides daily support for us in our role. We see that 67% agree or strongly agree that yes, we do. So this is a good thing, right? But 15% disagree or strongly disagree, and 18% felt neutral about this question. Having a dedicated supervisor or even having a CHW as a supervisor is crucial to supporting CHWs throughout their career and interactions with patients and clients. And I would even go as further to say with whole communities. Someone who understands, listens, and offers advice is invaluable. And doing this with empathy is super important. And that's where you get that through the CHW work that we're doing. Next, we were asked if we receive support and coaching for our career as a CHW. We found that 47% agree or strongly agree that yes, we do. Coaching, mentoring, and role models are a great support in the CHW profession. They can help further our career and provide wisdom and knowledge beyond our own. So next, we're going to hear from Aurora about our opportunities for action at all levels. Take it away, Aurora.
Thank you, Andrea. More opportunities for action here are to promote CHW stories of self-care and wellness for mental health and employment environments and scale practices across networks and employers. And thank you for those who are sharing ways in the chat, both you as a supervisor are supporting your staff and how your supervisors are supporting you. And elevate strategies to sustain daily support for CHWs through appropriate supervision in the workplace. And have state health departments partner with CHW networks to collect data on self-care and mental health needs of CHWs across the state. And we need to encourage funders to provide grants to CHW networks to ensure that self-care and mental health support is made available in trainings and membership settings. And now I'm going to hand the mic back to Michaela to lead us through some Q&A. Please start to throw your questions into the chat. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for that powerful call to action, Aurora. Before we head into our community circles, we can take 1 or 2 questions about the survey, and I can defer to our team if you have any questions that we may be able to answer. And if we're unable to answer them, we will put them in our frequently asked question sheet. Feel free to come off mute, drop them in the chat.
Hello, this is Tommy, and Tommy Williams at UAB 1917 Clinic in Birmingham, Alabama.
Hi, Tommy.
Hey, it was terribly informative and so valuable. And right now I am really fighting for like equity and pay and recognition of my efforts and contribution. And so like using this is going to be very important for me to hopefully be able to persuade people to see how valuable I am as an employee and who's doing community health worker work. So thank you for that. And so I don't have anything particularly to include except for, no, that's a lie. There was a question where it was, and I typed this in the chat where I said that it was a question about individuals finding it difficult to express their role to others, but the question, the way that it was worded, I can't remember exactly how it was. It was sometimes. Do you sometimes find it difficult? And so my question was, well, what times? For me, what was more interesting as a follow-up is, tell me about the times where it was easy and then about the times where it was not, because I think that's where we would like learn more, because some people are just kind of open to hear what you're doing. They're interested in it. And maybe those are the times that are easy. And then the other times you could talk to somebody who is heavily lettered with like high levels of education and just like, baby, what's your degree in? I'm totally not interested in this if you're not, holding a master's in something.
Yeah.
So, maybe it could be that. And the second thing, and then I'm done, is, and this is more of a question to you. Is it Michaela?
Yeah.
It's Michaela, right? Okay. And the pie chart, this is a question that I actually just submitted. On the pie charts for the responses, were the orientations changing with each response? I feel, because maybe it wasn't, I do suffer from a little bit of self-diagnosed dyslexia. And so I feel like I remember some of the yeses would be like to the bottom left or right, and then like majority responses, like positive responses, and sometimes it'll be to the top left. But maybe that was just how maybe it wasn't. But if it was doing that, it was throwing me off, because I would have liked to have just looked in one spot all the time to know that in a clockwise or counterclockwise motion, the answers are kind of doing the same thing. And it just would be easier for me to collect the data really quickly.
Yes, sir. So you may have noticed some different orientations too, and I have too. So we're working with our contracting team, external team, to have them, visually left to right, clockwise, opposed to things like that. So this is great improvement and feedback for us, and we will take it back to the team to make sure that in our next sessions that they are visually
cohesive.
Yes. And I just want to commend you for your advocacy and your role. I know it's really difficult at times. I've had quite a few coming to Jesus's with a couple of my employers, the contract employers, over the last couple of weeks. And in my latest expose of advocacy, I actually came to I said very plainly, and I don't feel like I need to negotiate my value to this program for my dedication over the past year of service. And they came back and they're like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel like that. We're gonna give you your money. And I'm like, that's right, you are, because what's your other option? You're gonna finish out these last 3 months without me? Good luck. So
goodness. So last thing, and I promise this is my last thing, but this is just off of what you just said, is that, so I do hear what sounds like a little bit more privilege than I'm being offered in my environment, is where their individuals feel like they must advocate this thing for me, and kind of like not wanting me to have these very important conversations about my worth and value and pay for myself, because I am an exceptional advocate. And I can have the conversations myself, but I feel like I'm being redirected to not do that, where you have the luxury to do that. And like, who can speak for us better than us speaking for ourselves? And I will be happy to have individuals in the space with me, like us as support, but let me like advocate for myself. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have not seen any progress, because someone else is trying to like be in charge. And that may be a situation with a lot of us, where we are just like trying to plead our case. We're talking through somebody who's then regurgitating that information to somebody else. And that really depends on how valuable they may see you in your role, and what they tell you and tell others could be completely different. And with that, I'm done. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I think that is, I mean, there's plenty of gaps with that, right? Because then how thorough, how powerful are they making these testaments? Are they even making these testaments? Because you're not in the room. And so maybe my suggestion or advice or offering would be is to like make some kind of document it yourself in your own words. Let them know what trainings you've taken, qualitative data, quantitative data, if you have it, that demonstrate your ability and your proficiency in your role throughout X amount of time, and then get people to support that letter, and then turn it into the, you know, the higher ups, because it's hard. It is very hard when you have other people advocating for you. But just say, you know, I'm able to take the time to make a little portfolio, if you would, of yourself, and then have your support systems and your advocates come in with you and be like, I would like to join this conversation, even if it's 10 minutes of your time, and then start there and see where that goes with you. And if you need any further support, I will drop my email in the chat and we can talk privately.
Thank you. I received that.
And that goes for everybody on the call. Hi, Leslie, I see your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to say, Tommy, you just keep on doing what you're doing. Maybe what you also can do is those people who say they're advocating for you, maybe you should ask them to send you an email of what they're saying, because some people might think that they're helping you by saying certain things a certain way, and it's not taken correctly. And so if you ask them, if they said that they advocate for you, just, you know, it's like, you know, should shoot me an email of what you've said, because in that way you'll be able to know what points that might be weaker from what they said, that you can build up on yours. Just like Michaela said, then you'll know what points you need to strengthen when you begin to talk to them or email them about who you are. And don't forget, you have people who you work with in your community, people who respect what you say, consider you an expert. You need to get things from them too. Not only them speaking, but in writing. You know, have them to shoot out an email to your boss, or forget the boss, go to the director. If you meet people, I know I have met many directors on Zoom and didn't know that's who they were. And they have said stuff for me, which I didn't know. Now, some people where I work didn't like that, but the whole thing is to have them advocate. That also shows your worth to the community, your worth to other directors who might need your help somewhere along the line. So what you're doing is great, but maybe that person, because I know it happened to me, the person typed this thing up, just thought it was stellar. And when I got the letter back, it wasn't. And they really were so happy. They said, I spoke for you. And I didn't know how to say, thank you, but no, thank you. Please don't send anything else for me. But now I know, you know, then I was younger and I didn't know. But now I know I could just ask them before they send it, so you can find out what they're saying, where they are with you, because they might really have a heart for you and you might be wrong. They might not be trying to block you. It's more that how people hear them is how they perceive you.
Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate your contribution to this conversation with Tommy. Dr. Francis.
So Tommy, one of the things that I would encourage everyone to do, particularly if you're going to advocate for yourself, is start using some of the other professional tools that are free and easily available. Each time you do some sort of engagement or create a LinkedIn profile that is based to your CHW-ism, if you want to say. And each thing you do, so whether it is that you're speaking to churches, you're speaking to schools, you're working with other groups, try to document that even on the LinkedIn, a little picture of it and give a 3-minute blurb. Even if you don't have consent for pictures, write what your impressions of the session is and hashtag it. Hashtag community, hashtag truth, hashtag resilience. Do that on your LinkedIn. And what you don't realize is after a while, you actually create a diary of your CHW with, and then not only you see it, but other people on LinkedIn. I've had people on LinkedIn reach out to me because they saw that I did something else, and that can work. And in addition to that, when somebody's hiring, and I know because I've done it myself, when you're looking at applicants, we now do a quick social media screen to see who is it, what has he been saying, does his social media back what is on the digital resume, that sort of thing. So that's one way to advocate for yourself, even while you're in your sleep. You don't have to say a word. Let your work speak for you. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Leslie.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Dr. Francis. That is so powerful and such a tool that we can all equip ourselves with. That just kind of brings me back. I'm applying for life insurance right now, and let me tell you that I had to send them pictures of my community involvement because my past history, as I've introduced myself, is not as bright as my future is. So pictures, documents, awards, things like that, those are all tools that you have and you should keep close to you, that can speak for you. And yes, I'm reading the chat's going crazy. I think we have time for one more quick question before we take a short break and get into our community circles.
Michaela, we actually had a question in the chat earlier by Roxanne, who asked, what advice would you give a new CHW participating in a new CHW program? I'm new to the profession and I am part of a program that is still in development. And I feel like I'm a bit of a guinea pig, which is both scary and exciting.
Oh, Roxanne, I feel you. Guess what? The first time I was hired, they didn't tell me what I was hired for until I was already doing it. I was like, and then the whole time I complained about it. I'm like, I did not sign up for this. So this is actually a really important piece since you are young in the role. I was young in the role, same, and it was a developing program. You have the hopefully, and we can squeeze this in there, the authority to shape that program, and really kind of. But my advice, first off, is find a mentor, find someone that you trust, a coworker, a colleague, maybe someone outside of the organization is sometimes helpful too. And get with them, ask them what their practices were. The first time I was involved in a case management program, I was like, how do we do this? And so my mentors have took me through step by step. And then like Dr. Francis shared, document all these things. Every time you have a success in this baby program, document, take a picture, because guess what? This is history for that organization. You're creating history. So you have really an excellent opportunity to shape, mold both yourself and your professional portfolio. Thank you. I see you there in the corner. Thanks for being here. All right, guys, we're gonna go and move into a 5-minute break as we get ready for our community circles. We know that your time is precious, and if you are not able to join us again in the community circle, please take the time to do the survey before you leave here today. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your community circle.
We had the best. We had the best. Like, we could have taken another 30 minutes, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm sure. I know. 30 minutes is honestly never enough. And I jumped in. I was in every breakout room and the conversations were on fire. All right, folks are still coming back in. We'll give them a few seconds to get back with us. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I think I saw 85 people leave to breakout rooms. We got about 73, 77, 78. I'm not an auctioneer, so I'm not going to try to do the numbers fast, but we are almost there. We're about 82. Okay. Well, we thank you all for joining the NACHW Data Summit series. I hope to see you back at our next session on October 13th. I appreciate your feedback, and we want to hear how you might utilize this data in your work. And here is our feedback survey. I'm going to drop this in the chat. I know we had a lot of great suggestions, so please put that down in our survey so that we can take this feedback and learn and grow from it. And I just want to one more time extend my gratitude to each and every one of you who has joined us today. We hope that you leave here feeling empowered and informed on the CHW professional identity, and will make strides of action in areas of improvement. Again, I hope to see you back on October 13th for our third installment of the data findings in action, and presented by our amazing J&J leaders. Now I'm going to leave you with the link for today's infographics. Please use these with your employers, in your advocacy, with your peers, co-workers. They are at the bottom of this screen. So scroll all the way down to the bottom of this link. You'll see in black, it says session 2, and they are labeled CHW perception, CHW work environment, CHW demographics, and CHW self-care. And I pray for you all. You are all in my thoughts, and many blessings to you. Have a great few weeks, and I will see you back here on October 13th.
Thank you, Michaela, for inviting me to speak. I'll see you next time. Have a great evening.
Thank you,
Great job,
everybody.
folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Have a good week. Y'all stay safe.
Great meeting, great meeting.
Yeah, in memory of Coolio, guys. Here we go. Ready?
There we go. Coolio, Coolio.
Wait a minute, we lost Coolio.
Dangerous minds.